Hello and welcome to CMQ's, the Scottish Sun's politics show. My name's Conor Matchett, I'm the political editor at the paper, and it's a warm welcome back to Scottish Sun Towers for the former investigations editor who also happens to just maybe be the Scottish Conservative leader, Russell Findlay. Russell, welcome back.
Thank you.
Are you feeling kind of nostalgic? I know this isn't the actual of this.
I like what you've done with the place. It's very nice, no expense spared. There's clearly still money in newspapers.
Well, some of it, yeah. I'm reliably informed that you're a little bit nervous about this whole quickfire interview.
You've got that twinkle in your eye and that worries me. And your reassurances make me even more worried. In fact, the viewers can't see that thing's attached to my nipples by electric cable. So
this is the fun bit. So we do have long-time viewers of CMQs will remember the big red buzzer of waffle, which we've used on Anna Sawar and Ian Murray and Kate Forbes, and now on you, Russell. So I'm going to be kind on timings, or something. Let you waffle like you to your heart's content on some bits.
Yeah.
Other times I'm going to hit the buzzer and you're going to have to move on.
I'll do my best.
So fair warning, Mr. Findlay, in the great words of Alison Johnson, presiding officer. Start off with an easy one. Election earlier this year, painful one for you UK-wide as a party. What was wrong with what you had on offer for voters?
I think voters across the UK had enough of some of the mistakes that had been made. I think any government that's been in that long can run out of steam, and there's a cyclical nature to things. But it seemed inevitable getting into the election that we would lose, and it was just a question of by how much. Mm-hmm. But I was reassured that in Scotland we maintained 5 MPs, which, against the backdrop of what happened elsewhere, wasn't a bad result. I mean,
one of the big controversies of the election in Scotland was Douglas Ross's U-turn and decision to stand to be an MP in Moray, despite saying he wouldn't. That's obviously precipitated where you are now as leader. What did you make of that when you heard it on the day?
I guess, like most people, I was a bit taken aback, but he explained the rationale for why he wanted to do so. He thought he could do the job representing his area as effectively.
Did you buy that on the day?
Well, I respected his explanation. Obviously, people were unhappy about it.
Yeah.
People were also unhappy about the situation around the previous MP and the dispute over that. And inevitably, Douglas eventually decided that he was required to stand down as leader. And here we are.
Yeah.
So,
you look so happy about it. And how has it been since you've been in place?
8 weeks today, if my calculations are correct. So it's been hugely intense process, a great privilege. I mean, day one was meeting the King in Parliament, doing a speech in front of the King, and then off to the UK conference that night. And it's been an absolute whirlwind. I've barely stopped for breath.
Yeah. But long-time readers of the Scottish Sun will know your background with the paper, will know about the acid attack that happened. I'm intrigued. I think people will be interested as well. Are you nervous at all about putting yourself so front and centre, given the history in the past?
So I think when I became an MSP in 2021, that was the decision from complete anonymity, what I describe as aggressive anonymity, to being public as an MSP. So that was the point where the fundamental choice had to be made. And on balance, I felt that it was a price worth paying, and I'll continue to be vigilant. But I'm under no illusion that becoming the leader amplifies your profile. I've already experienced this when I'm cutting about Glasgow and people are recognising me. Yeah. And it's so far been positive, but I dare say it might be negative one day.
Any abuse so far?
None. That's incredible. Maybe I've just not heard it. Maybe I filter it out.
Headphones on.
Yeah, selective hearing. So there's been no abuse, touch for Micah, but I'm under no illusions that my profile by virtue of being leader will be greater, and I'll just continue to be cautious as I've been for many years.
And what's your message to the sorts of people that you used to report on?
Well, most of these people are organised criminals, and they understand that in the line of work they're in, they run the risk of both the police and the justice system, and often journalistic curiosity and scrutiny. And they're mature enough and wise enough to know that goes with the turf. They don't take it personally. There are some, however, who do take it personally, or decide that only they should be able to control the way in which they are presented to the public. Those people have got extremely thin skins. They're mostly bullies and cowards. They rarely do their own dirty work. I'm not looking to inflame or exacerbate any sort of situation, but you think that if they had half an ounce of sense, they would think twice before going after people in mainstream society, whether that's journalists, politicians, police officers, judges, that should be a no-no.
Yeah. So moving on to a slightly lighter topic, assisted dying. So we've just heard in the last, I think, 10 minutes since you've been in the office, that MPs down south have voted in favour of the bill. It'll move on to another stage of Parliament. It's not law yet for England and Wales. Obviously, there's an entire separate process going on in Holyrood, led by Liam MacArthur and the Scottish Lib Dem MSP. At the minute, what's your position?
So it's a strange one, because when this first arose quite early on as an MSP, my instinct was I was supportive. I know people who have died who would probably have chosen to end their life in a responsible way that would have mitigated the pain and the suffering that they went through. And I think a lot of people come to it from that position, the position of empathy and understanding of the need for that. But I've since read and heard a lot that gives me great cause for concern. So I think what I will do is, when we go into our debate in Scotland, I'll go into it with my ears wide open. I'll listen to all views. I'll try and filter out what's genuine concerns and what might be considered to be more scaremongering. And what I will also do is commit to all our MSPs will be able to vote as they see fit, as a matter of conscience.
Sounds like it's leaning no.
To me, no, I think genuinely, this isn't me trying to be a politician and me trying to be clever. Yeah. I'm absolutely conflicted. I mean, I was speaking to someone the other day who has religious views, but he was explaining to me, he sets them aside when he's talking about the reasons why he's opposed to assisted dying. And it's very compelling, it's understood. But equally, I know someone who's a very strong campaigner for this legislation, has spent many years of their professional life putting it forward. And that is also very compelling. So I think, crucially, I think it will be what's in the legislation, the safeguards, the detail, the protections of vulnerable people, the risk we don't want, for example, sort of death tourism, for want of a better phrase, there's so many things that would have to be absolutely fixed and future-proofed to get the support, I think.
Yeah, interesting. We'll move on to definitely lighter topics. We have a clip of you, I think, from this week out on the campaign trail, necking a pint of beer, or at least attempting to. I think you got about half of the way down, which is just, pathetic, frankly. What is your favourite beer?
Favourite beer?
Yeah.
We'll see, the older I get, maybe it's an old man thing. I used to be a lager lout. Well, not a lout, of course. I used to enjoy a pint of lager. Occasional pint of Guinness, but I do like an IPA.
An IPA?
Yeah.
So on that, are you trying to be Scotland's Nigel Farage?
No.
No. I mean, Reform have got their teeth in you a little bit, haven't they, in the Conservative vote over the last few years?
Reform appear to have their teeth in everyone's vote in Scotland. They've got no infrastructure. Nobody really knows what they stand for, but they're getting more votes than I would like.
Yeah.
Some of those being people who might have previously voted for us. And it's my job as the new leader to set out, our common sense Conservative vision, to show people that we... Show that. It's not waffle.
It's pretty much waffle. Are you worried about defections to Reform? And we've seen it down south in the last week with former Tory politicians. Do you see some coming your way?
I don't want to say it's a certainty, but I do think we've got 200 plus councillors in Scotland, and in any given year, you will find that there's, say, a local dispute between individuals that results in people resigning the whip and sitting as an independent, sometimes even going to other parties. I know that Reform are courting some of our councillors as they are courting the councillors of Labour and some other parties, and I think it's fairly likely that we will see some defections. But that would be hugely disappointing, because since I've become leader, I've genuinely attempted to reach out to associations, to councillors, to local members. and show them that we are listening and that we've changed.
All right, some proper quickfire style questions. I'll let you take a little sip of water before we get there.
Yeah.
So I want to know, would you feel safe travelling on the Glen Sannox?
Only if Nicola Sturgeon was with me as a form of security.
What, in case it sank?
Well, if she was confident enough to get on board, but now it's got real windows, then I would have confidence that it wouldn't sink.
Do you think you'd be confident that it wouldn't break down on the way?
I think there's half a chance that on the car to the port it would have broken down.
Who's your best friend in the SNP? I imagine it's not Nicola Sturgeon.
So best friend, it's a funny one. I thought you might ask that, but for several years I was in the Justice Committee and I sat beside Audrey Nicholl, and she's a good person. Obviously we fundamentally disagree about the Constitution, but we worked well together. She was a good cop and I was often the bad cop. I was speaking to somebody in the SPA last week. They were telling me they were delighted that I'm no longer in the committee, which I took as a great badge of honour.
Yep.
And of course, Audrey recently has been thrust into the limelight by virtue of Stephen Flynn, who decided that not only did he want Ian Blackford's job, he also wanted his female colleague's job, and ultimately, clearly, he wants John Swinney's job.
Absolutely. So on a different party, who's your favourite friend in the Labour Party? Now, I was at an event last night with both you and Anna Sarwar, so I think it might have been him because you sat very closely together chatting away.
Well, the hosts of that event had sat us side by side, and it was very, very lovely.
There was a buffer between the two of you and John Swinney, it should be said.
Yeah, he was a few down. He'd already pointed out that earlier that day we did FMQs and had probably got a bit roughed up by us, so he was needing a wee bit of a break.
Is it Anna?
Well, no, I got on well with him. We've now got this mutual interest, and we both know what it's like to be the leaders of the party.
Yeah.
He's much more experienced than I do in politics, and I like quite a few. I mean, I quite like Richard Leonard, despite his politics. He and I greet each other with the raised fists and the word comrade, and I like Neil Bibby. He stood in Paisley as I did, and he's decent, but I don't want to. I'll no doubt come up with others who I like as well. But it's the same with the SNP. There's plenty of people in all parties who are fundamentally good and you're happy to get along with.
Yeah. And the party we know you're no fans of is the Scottish Greens. Who would you rather be stuck in a lift with, Patrick Harvie or Lorna Slater?
Can I not just go back in the ferry? Rather be in a lift with Patrick Slater.
Patrick Harvie.
Patrick Harvie or Lorna Slater? I think Lorna.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, so you know how leaders have to stand and do these ridiculous photo opportunities on the steps?
Yeah.
So quite often I've stood beside her.
Just quickly, Gaz, who's behind the camera, we're desperately in need of the picture of Russell in your Christmas jumper.
Oh, yeah, it's nice.
It's appalling.
That's
might be flashed up on screen now, hopefully.
No, wait a minute. Somebody on Twitter said Russell's been given the most horrific Christmas jumper of all of them. That was my own Christmas jumper. I've had that for years. I've got a matching hat.
You look like an elf in it.
It's an elf hat. It's got ears on it and everything.
It's quite small, mate.
No, it's because I pulled it over my shirt in a hurry. And I was last to join the picture, but I didn't realise I hadn't sorted it all out. But it's a good jumper, and I'm not going to have a word said about it.
But you're saying about Lorna?
Yes. So she, in those awkward moments where we're all standing on those steps, get a picture taken. I've had a few exchanges. She seems like a decent sort. Patrick Harvie tends to just glower at the Tories. Don't think he can bring himself to speak to us anymore.
Same scenario, stuck in a lift. Nicola Sturgeon or Humza Yousaf?
Humza.
Does Kemi Badenoch ever give you a call?
Yes.
How often?
Well, she's been in the job even less time than I have. We've had a couple of chats. We've exchanged WhatsApps if there's anything that arises that one of us wants to check or ask. She's got a huge job in her hands. I've got a big job in my hands, and she understands that as part of her building process, a very good result in 2026 will be critical.
So proper quick fire now. Straight answers straight away. Square or link sausage?
Link.
Favourite Oasis song?
Oh God, what's that one? I was going to say definitely, There's so many. I know, sorry.
Come on.
There are so many.
You're not going to get a freebie ticket at this rate.
No, I wouldn't take a freebie, of course. My name's not Neil Gray. There's so many. I've been to several races. I was at the Loch Lomond one.
Yeah.
And I managed to climb over a barrier and get into the VIP section. Bought the mum a drink in the VIP section.
What do you buy?
It was rum and coke, I think.
Okay.
That was supposed to be many years ago. You'd have been in school probably at that point. And I saw them at Glasgow Green with my pal. Yeah. And my pal was on my shoulders and started deciding to abuse Liam, who's notoriously thin-skinned, and Liam appeared to be trying to have a fight with my friend who was on my shoulders while he was performing the set. It's all a bit unnecessary.
So definitely no free ticket.
No, probably not. No, but they're great. They're great live, you know.
So presumably Oasis aren't one of your go-to karaoke songs. What's your top?
Oh, right. Top so my top karaoke song, Beach Boys, California Girls. I worked in California when I was a student.
Yeah.
In a fairground.
Yeah.
And the ride that I was in charge of was called the Wave Jammer. And for the entire 8-hour shift, it played the Beach Boys on a loop.
Oh my God.
So I know the lyrics to every Beach Boys song. So when the karaoke choice comes up, I look like a pro. I don't even have to look at the screen.
Fantastic. Who will be the next First Minister of Scotland?
Well, you know, you can get down the bookies, put a few quid in me. You know.
Should you?
Decent odds, I think. Who will be the next First Minister of Scotland? Who knows? It's up to the voters.
Answer, come on.
I'm going to use
I need a name.
I'm going to use the Anas Sarwar evasion technique and say it's up to the voters.
I don't know if I should really let you away with that. Are you ever going to be honest about whether or not you use drugs?
What do you mean honest?
Well, give an answer.
I have given an answer.
What's the answer?
I said there was some youthful mixed mistakes, youthful experimentation, like perhaps you and others who are watching this have done, but
give us details.
Well, what do you mean details?
Oh, what did you take?
Well, if you can remember the 90s, you were there. I can't. I mean, I think it would be wrong to go into details, but most people of my era and even younger, I dare say, see drugs, the prevalence of drugs, and I'm very glad that I identified that these were bad news and see the damage they do to people. And in latter years, reporting on organised crime and speaking to families who lost people through drugs, I think there's a great distinction between stupid, youthful indiscretion and experimentation and the industrial scale drug dealing that we see in Scotland that I've done a lot to try and stand up to.
Do you think most politicians who your age or younger will have to answer that question yes nowadays? Well,
probably, yeah. I mean, not being a career politician, perhaps as well. Everyone lives their life. Everyone's got a backstory. Everyone's done things, and it'd be a bit odd if politicians could only be politicians if they were cast from some pure mould.
Squeaky clean.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be odd, wouldn't it? So,
be boring.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not to big up or brag about something like that, but I would dare say if you took 129 MSPs and polled them anonymously, I'd reckon a good few, most perhaps, would have, done something of that nature.
We'll move on. Who is the better politician? So this is, I'll give you two names. Winner stays on.
Okay.
It'll make sense, I promise, I hope. Russell Findlay or Douglas Ross? Who's the better politician?
Better politician, me.
Russell Findlay or Anna Sarwar?
I'll have to say me. I mean, he's very politician. Do you know what I mean? Very polished. I saw him work in that room last night. He was like a game show host, not quite Alex Cole-Hamilton level, but he's got the thing going on there.
So, but you're still going with yourself?
Yes.
Okay. Russell Findlay or John Swinney?
Yeah, me. Has to be me. I'm sorry.
Russell Findlay or Keir Starmer?
Oh, me.
God, you've not even won an election yet.
I know. Listen, I agree, and I know that Anna Sarwar was feeling somewhat big-headed because he kept saying him, but at what point do you fold?
It might have to be the next one. Is it Russell Findlay or Kemi Badenoch?
I think Kemi is a proven winner. Can we call that one a draw?
No, he's going to pick.
We're the same team. We're one and the same.
Russell Findlay or Kemi?
I think we'll give that one to Kemi.
It's Kemi Badenoch or Rishi Sunak?
I think Kemi.
Kemi Badenoch or Boris Johnson?
Kemi.
Kemi or Liz Truss?
Kemi.
There we go. So Kemi better than all the Conservative Prime Ministers who've gone before her.
Well, not everyone. We've not
in recent years.
Right, okay. Well, so it seems.
Apparently so.
Based upon this quickfire quiz that you've just conducted.
Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Correct. Scottish Sun or Daily Record?
That's like asking to choose between two children. Who's your favourite? I worked for both of them, didn't I? So I can't answer that.
Celtic or Rangers?
Celtic or Rangers. Partick Thistle.
Yeah, that's not an answer.
No. Hold on. I'm not having that. This isn't Michael Matheson kidding on. He supports Partick Thistle. I went to Firhill as a kid for years, right? So I've got the programmes in the house. I've got my old scarf. I'll bring it in, so I don't have to go Rangers. I don't have to go Rangers or Celtic.
At home with a good book or hiking up among a Munro?
I think good book, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And last couple of questions and we'll wrap it up. Do you want an election in spring?
No.
Why not?
It'll be a lot of work. I mean, being a relatively new leader, I think if I had a little bit more time to build what we're trying to do and to kind of get some momentum up, perhaps raise my profile a little bit more, and energise the team, that would be favourable. So we're aiming for 2026.
So you'll back John Swinney's budget?
No, not necessarily. If he wants to sit down and do a deal, common sense deal in respect of what we are suggesting, give hardworking Scots a tax cut, give businesses a break, then who knows, we might back the budget, but he's not showing any signs of wanting to play ball.
There you go. Well, Russell Findlay, thank you very much for joining us on CMQs.
Thank you.
You can read more about Scottish politics and Holyrood on the Scottish Sun's website, and make sure as well to sign up to our weekly newsletter where there's many, many bits of fun gossip in there, often about Russell. So please do sign up to that as well. Thanks again, Russell, for joining us, and thank you at home for watching and listening. Goodbye.
Thank you.